Hello, fight fans, and welcome to the Combat Challenge podcast. My next guest is a lightweight MMA athlete with a professional record of 4 wins and 0 defeats. He trains at Trojan Free Fighters and competes on the prestigious Cagewarriors promotion. Mr. Michal Figlak. Mick, thank you so much, my brother. Thank you for joining us, man.
Yeah, thank you for having me. Thank you.
No, man, because I had your coach on, Paul, and I said, look, I need these two brothers on. So I've got you, and then hopefully I've got Matt next week. So I'm really looking forward to it.
Yeah, thank you for having me on. I'm glad to do this interview with you.
Now, the first question I'm going to ask you is your martial arts journey. From a young age, can you kind of talk me through the disciplines you were on and what sort of sports you got into and how you ended up where you are now?
So if I start off right at the beginning, so at a very young age, I would always get into little fights when I was very young, when I still lived in Poland. And then I saw one day, I was with my dad, and I actually watched some Pride with him. I think it was Vanderlei Silva fighting someone. And it kind of like put this thing in my head that when I grow up, I want to maybe mix some different martial arts together and like become a martial artist. But that kind of died out because I must have been about seven years old. So that was the first memory of it. And then that kind of died out. But then when I actually came over to the UK, when I was 12, I started to do boxing. I did boxing for around a year. Then I did judo for around a year. And it kind of like the martial arts kind of kept getting me, like grabbing me back in, let's say, was pulling, like the martial arts was pulling me in. And then at the age of 15, I started MMA at a gym in Hereford called Combat Academy. I would train twice a week at that gym. And then all the other days throughout the week, I would train with my brother. We would train in the garden. We'd do weightlifting. And then one of the guys actually at the gym in Hereford, he mentioned to us that there's a gym in Worcester that actually has training every day. So we looked into it, and then we saw that Shane Mills was fighting out of Trojan, and we were like, oh, we got to join that gym. So we kind of made it our goal that as soon as one of us can drive, we'll start training every day there. And that's when we, as soon as my brother got his driving license, we started training every day in Worcester. And what happened was one day, the first day that my brother was able to go to train in Worcester, I wasn't able to because I was going to college. I was studying engineering at the time. So my brother went to the gym, and he had his first session. That was with Paul Sutherland, because he would take kickboxing on Mondays. And after the session, my brother came back, and I was like, oh, how was it? I said to him, how was it? And he goes, yeah, it was very good. Paul wants me to come and spar on Sunday. Yeah, so this was Monday, and then Paul just said to him, come over, we'll see how good you are. Let's come over and spar on Sunday. So I was like, oh, did you ask about me? And he's like, yeah, don't worry about it. You just come with me, yeah? And then throughout the week, we trained in Worcester. And then on that Sunday, on the way there, we was there. And I kept going like, oh, I hope Paul lets me train. You know, I hope Paul lets me train. And then we walked in the gym, and Paul came up to us, and he goes, who is this, to my brother, basically. And he said, oh, that's my brother. He's also training. He's on the same level as me. So Paul said, like, okay, then get your gear on and you're sparring. Yeah. So we started sparring, and we look on the mats, and it was around 20 to 30 fighters, amateur and professional. And among them was Shay Mills, like Stuart Austin, Mark Godbeer, there was Mario, Lawrence. There was a lot of very good guys already. And then and the mats were split. They were split. So there was heavyweights on the left side. Then in the middle, there was like welterweight, middleweights. And then there was light guys on the right side. So I would start off, I was only 16. So I would start off with the light guys. But because I am the way I am, I would like spar with the light guys. And all of a sudden, I'd be in there with the heavyweights. So I'd be sparring the heavyweights and the like very heavy guys. And I was like, because I was just like, oh, I need to show Paul that I really want to do this, you know? And then we did that session. I probably got my ass kicked. I can't even remember, but yeah, I was just mixing it up with everyone because I just wanted to show Paul that I want to do this really. And then at the end, Paul said like, "Oh, keep training, guys. We'll get you fights and things like that." And we just kept training in Worcester mainly, and then twice a week we would train in Cheltenham with Paul, and that's how the training in Trojan started. And then in 2012, I had my first inter-club fight. So it's only like a fight in the gym, not much crowd or anything. It's not like an official fight. And then in 2013, beginning of 2013, I had my first amateur fight, and I won that in like 2 minutes via submission. And then I had 12 amateur fights before making my professional debut. And then my amateur record is 10 wins with 2 losses. And I fought some of the top guys in the amateurs back then who have now turned pro, and and I've gone to do great things. So and then in 2018 I turned pro. I then because I thought, okay, I'm turning professional now, but I was still working, so I was kind of thinking I need to be able to train twice a day, because I'm going to compete against guys who train twice a day. So I saved up a lot of money, and me and my brother, we went to live in Thailand for a year, and we trained at Phuket Top Team, and then we actually got to spar with very high level guys, UFC fighters. We had James Vick, we had Paul Daly sparred there. We had guys from ONE FC, from ABA, I think it's called, not the ABC, I think it's ABA, yeah. So there's all sorts of high level guys, kickboxers with 300 fights, we would get to spar them guys. And then we returned to the UK, and then we continued our professional career here. So that's my journey up until now,
Wow, that just shows your commitment, brother, to think, you and your brother Matt decided to just try to save some money, and you were so passionate about it that you ended up going to Thailand, right?
Yeah, we kind of, to be honest, we sold everything. We sold everything we had, and we just went, okay, let's do this, and we just left and went. Like, it was a kind of a big risk, because both of us had good jobs. We were both engineers, but plan A for me was always to become a world champion MMA fighter. So engineering was kind of just a thing that would keep me going. I guess you have to have something, It was like, I have to complete my apprenticeship. I had to complete my apprenticeship to have something as backup, but I always knew that I'm going to be a world champion, and I'm going after that. So when I had the opportunity to go to Thailand, I was like, okay, let's do this, and we just did it.
So would it be fair to say, Mike, that engineering was like the safety net for plan B if plan A didn't work?
Yes. I never thought of it as a safety net, let's say, because I don't think that my plan A will never work. But it was like, I had to make money. I had to make money to be able to train. That's how that was my thinking.
You said you had a dozen amateur fights. Was that a decision that you made, or was it a decision that was guided by your coach, Paul?
Yeah, it was guided by Paul, and it was guided by me as well. I wanted to get those fights, but and Paul was my coach who was sorting those fights out and guiding me within my amateur fights.
The reason I ask is because last week I did a podcast with your coach, Paul Sutherland, and one of the things he said was the advice he would like to give fighters is to, have around about 10 amateur fights at least, to kind of get to know a little bit about their character, the things they need to work on, because once they turn professional, you can't go back down to amateur. And also it's a clean slate and you start off in a different chapter, right?
Yes, 100%. Paul, that's exactly what Paul was saying to us, get those amateur fights in. And then I was just waiting for Paul to say that I'm ready to become a professional. I wasn't making the decision on my own. I needed to speak to Paul. We spoke, and then I turned pro.
Now, you mentioned Paul as a coach. Are there any other coaches or mentors that have played a significant role in your martial arts journey that you'd like to mention to us?
Yeah, so of course, Paul is one of the main ones, because he's been guiding me from the beginning. You know, he's always been in my corner, always got me fights. You know, he's always been training me for the fights. You know, it's from day one. Just like I said, you know, he asked us to go to the sparring. He let me spar. You know, he was giving me good advice, and so Paul is a massive part of my success. He's a massive part of my success. He's a very good coach. He's a coach who, you know, puts everything together so well for me. So when I come out to fight, he kind of comes up with a very good game plan, and we are on the same page. That's the thing. We are like, we have a very good fighter coach relationship. And then another person is, of course, my brother. My brother is a massive part of my success, because we train all the time, and he's a perfectionist and I'm a perfectionist also. So when he watches me and I'm doing something wrong, he'll always tell me. There is no, like, sometimes you have some people won't tell you that you're doing something wrong, yeah, because they don't want to like say, oh yeah, you're doing something wrong, or they don't want to say something bad about you. But you know, because we are brothers and because we have a relationship like that, he can tell me like, oh yeah, you're doing this wrong, you need to fix this, you need to fix that, and then we can work together on certain things. So my brother is a massive part of it as well, and I appreciate him a lot. Another person is Ronnie Mann. Ronnie Mann is a great fighter who he's retired now, but he's one of my coaches now, and he's a person who, he came into the gym when I was quite young. He came into the gym, he was still fighting, and I would watch him and I would see this he's not a big guy, and he would spar against bigger guys and you just smash him, you know. And his technique, the things that he can do on the ground and striking is so good. And I've managed to basically train with him a lot, and he's my grappling coach now, and the knowledge he has is just incredible, and I'm glad that he's a part of my team also.
You mentioned your brother, and I understand that, because your brother will have your best interest at heart, because he wants to get you to the best level, and you want to get him to the best level, right?
Yes, 100%. Yeah, we don't let each other get away with nothing, you know. We always work towards perfection. That's the thing. And it's okay, maybe we'll never get there, because perfection, you know, you don't even you will never get there, but we always work to get the best, you know.
But you'll give it a good try, won't you, brother?
Yeah.
No, you're lucky you've got your brother within your bubble, and you're classed as a professional athlete. How are you finding the time within the testing time that we're in now with, you know, the pandemic? How are you able to keep fight training under these circumstances?
So to be honest, since the first lockdown, nothing has really changed for me apart from reorganizing my training slightly, you know. So I wasn't able to go, let's say, to Gloucester to the gym there and train with my other training partners. But because I'm a professional athlete, I do have access to a gym. And then as my training partner, I have my brother. So what I did was just reorganize training. So whenever I would normally go to Gloucester and train in Trojan, I would basically fill that in with another session, and then nothing else changed. I've trained through both. I think it's 2 or 3 lockdowns now, so I've trained through all of that. I try to take positives out of it. So although it's a challenging time, you still have to kind of keep going and make the best of it. And I think that's what I've done, and that's what shows through my last 2 fights, because that was both those fights were in the times where it was a lockdown, and I still managed to improve from one to the other, and be in very good shape, and I kept training all throughout.
Well, let's talk about your last fight, Mike. That was against Anthoney O'Conner on Cagewarriors, the trilogy. And Anthony is from a reputable gym, which is Next Generation, because I think I saw his coach, Paul Rimmer, in his corner. And that was December last year, so it was only a couple of months ago. Can you tell us about the preparation of what you knew about Anthony, and then talk us through the fight itself and how it went?
So in terms of my opponents, I don't really focus on them too much at all, to be honest. I'll watch them at the beginning of my camp. I'll probably watch their fights, and then Paul my coach does a lot of that as well. But apart from that, I only watch them once or twice in the whole camp, and then I just focus on myself. I just it's like I have one look at someone, and then I kind of know how I need to approach it, and then I just focus on myself, because at the end of the day, the fight is not really against your opponent; it's against yourself, and it's in the preparation. So I just focus on my preparation. If I put 100% into my preparation, then I know when I go out there and I can put 100% in the cage, then there's not going to be anyone who can stop it.
Sure. And when you fought against Anthony, when the fight first started, he came out to bang, so you both ended up striking. Did his game plan catch you off guard, or did you think that's what he was going to do? And then talk us through the rest of the fight until it finished.
So the last 2 days when I was in a hotel, I kind of thought, all right, I'm going to take this guy out in the first round. That's what I was thinking. I was like, I'm just going to come out there and take him out in the first round. And I coming out to the fight, that's exactly what was happening. So I was just breaking him down in the first round, but he just proved that he was tough. So he was a little bit tougher than I thought, and then he made it into the second round, but it didn't take me long in the second round to finish him. He just he's a tough guy, and he was able to take some punishment before I got the finish.
Well, in the second round, am I right in thinking, was it that 3 combo? I think it was an uppercut, a left, and then I don't know if it was a right straight or a right hook that you caught him with.
I think it was a 7-punch combination. I think it was something like jab, right uppercut, left hook, right uppercut, left hook, right hook. That's what got him. So the left hook got him, and as he was falling down, the right hook finished him off, and then he fell down.
Brother, you wasn't going for a small meal, were you? You were going for the full buffet, getting a 7-punch combo in there.
Yeah, it's just it was I had very good advice from my corner team, from Paul and my brother. It was just stay relaxed and use my speed, and then I kind of came out to the second round with the same intention of just trying to get the finish, but I was a little bit more relaxed, and then using a bit more of my speed rather than head hunting.
Well, I think that showed as well, because in the second round, when you did come out, am I right in thinking I heard Paul saying something about stay relaxed and don't chase it?
Yeah, exactly.
You've had, 4 professional fights. You've had a dozen amateur fights. Out of all those fights, which has been the most rewarding for you? And if you can talk us through that.
So I think there's been a lot of rewarding fights I've had as an amateur and as a professional, but the most rewarding would probably be the Oban Elliott fight, and it was because obviously there was a lot of things said. He said a lot of stuff in his interviews coming up to the fight, but the biggest thing, I guess, was the fact that I think someone told me about the betting odds, or like the percentage of people thinking that I'm going to lose, and it was something like 96% to 4%. So 4% of people said that I'm going to win, and 96 thought that. And it was just like it motivated me. It motivated me just to do better. And to be honest, because he was from around my area at one point, he was training around here. There was a lot of people who actually turned their back on me, because people who I thought that were actually, my supporters or on my side, they would turn away, and I'd be like, okay, we'll see what happens in the fight then. And then the fight turned out how it turned out. But
well, before we get into the fight, my brother, I've seen a clip of, there's been a bit of an opportunity for you two to kind of meet each other in a hotel lobby. And I think Oban was doing some sort of interview. What happened there, if you talk us through that?
So what happened was, I've heard, I didn't really watch many of those interviews, but I've seen clips of interviews, because the people who conducted the interviews, they actually sent some bits to me. I think they were just to get their reaction, and I just watched those a little bits, and he was just talking shit about me. So I kind of thought, okay, we'll see if he says shit to me when I see him. We'll see when he says shit to me when I see him. And obviously that's where that altercation came, basically. But that's it. At the end of the day, we go into the cage, and after the fight is done, it's done. You know, we get to fight at the end of it. So all of the animosity towards each other is squashed.
Sure. And those of us who hasn't seen that fight, can you talk us through how the fight went?
So the fight went according to my plan, which was I wanted to strike. I wanted to strike. So I came out wanting to strike. I put the pressure on, and then he started to grapple me, which I kind of expected. I managed to defend off his kind of attempts for takedowns. And then I caught him with some good strikes, which made him actually get a bit more desperate to take me down. And then I still managed to out wrestle him. And then towards the end of the round, I just kept control of him. We landed some good shots. In the second round, I came out. I drained him through wrestling. I knew that I felt that it was that I had the advantage in that area. And then in the third round, I went for the kill. And then I got the finish in the middle of the last round.
Well, in that second round, he did look tired because you were just like a rucksack on him, just against the cage,
Yeah.
just on him, and looping your leg around and just dragging him down and ragging him around and keeping on him and putting that pressure on him, right?
Yes, yeah. That's just wrestling, you know. That's just cage work. That was a part of my plan, and then that's what I executed. I said before the fight, I said that I'm gonna beat him in every single aspect of MMA, and that's what I wanted to do, you know. So I beat him in wrestling, I beat him on the ground, and I beat him striking.
And am I right in thinking, was that your debut on Cagewarriors?
Yes, yes.
Wow. And had he already fought on Cagewarriors, or was it his debut as well?
No, I think he fought a few times, but I'm not bothered about him. I wish him all the best, to be honest. I don't, you know, whatever happened between us happened, but I always say this: I wish success to everyone until they sign the contract to fight me. So after it's done as well, I don't care. You know, you get on with your things, and before you sign the contract with me, I'm okay with you too. You do whatever you have to do. You know, we are all on separate journeys. We all take our time. Some might take longer, some might take shorter, but we just keep striving to be the best. But until you sign that contract, it's all good. But when you sign that contract, then we have a war.
Now, it's great that Cagewarriors is still putting on promotions during this testing time, an example being the trilogy that you was on in December. Is there anything else planned for you in the near future?
Yes, I'll be fighting on 18th of March on the next trilogy.
Oh,
So that's
awesome.
5 weeks, I think, 5 weeks now.
And do you have an opponent? Can you share that with us? Is it out in
I
public?
do, but it's not it hasn't officially come out yet, so I guess I can't announce it yet.
But when it does come out, brother, we're going to have another podcast because we're going to talk about it, right?
Yeah, 100%.
For sure. On a lighter note, there's a UFC that's happening this weekend. The welterweight belt is up for grabs. Champion Kamaru Usman against Gilbert Burns. I'm going to ask you for a prediction, brother, okay, as to who you think is going to win, which round, and how they're going to win.
I think it's a hard one because they've trained together so much. So we kind of don't. It's a hard one to predict, but I still believe that Usman is going to do it. I think Gilbert Burns is going to come out very strong in the first 2 rounds. But I think as the fight goes on, Usman is going to be able to pin him against the cage and drain him. Burns is a very explosive fighter, and I feel like that might affect him badly if he doesn't conserve his energy correctly, especially against someone like Usman, because Usman is a guy who just drains your energy with the wrestling. Is very similar to Khabib. So I think Usman is going to take it by decision. It's going to be a decision.
So he's just going to grind him all the way through the 5 rounds.
Yeah, it's going to be a grind, unless Burns manages to knock him out in the first 2 rounds. I think, otherwise he's just going to grind him out.
You've been on this MMA journey so far and you're doing so well, and good luck for the future. You've got 4 professional fights you've had and you're undefeated in that. Out of them, only one went to the decision. The others were either technical knockouts or knockouts. So you're doing so well yourself. What advice would you give to other athletes who are a bit lower down from you, from your knowledge and experience, that you could pass on to them?
I think one of the biggest things is to get as many amateur fights as you can. Don't worry about winning or losing them. Just get them in. Of course, dedication, consistency, and then something. Don't worry about the people around you. So even if you have teammates or people who started later than you or before you, don't worry if they have more success earlier. So it's because we are all on different journeys. So for someone it might take 2 years to or 3 years to become a professional, and for someone it can take 5 years. So I feel like just don't look at other people, just focus on yourself, get as many amateur fights as you can, and then turn professional when you're ready, and keep going.
That advice is something that your coach as well, Paul Sutherland, when I spoke to him, he mentioned that as well, that it's important to have a significant number of amateur fights before you turn professional, right?
Yes, 100%. Amateur fights are very similar to professional fights, and they are amateur fights, so you can afford to make mistakes that you can then fix before turning professional.
For sure. Although you didn't make many, my friend.
Not many, but I did make some mistakes, and I lost, and I've learned from them. So I feel like without those losses, I wouldn't be where I am now. So I'm definitely not happy that I lost, but I've learned a lot from those losses.
Mike, thank you so much, my brother. It's been so enjoyable having you on this podcast. And the plan is, in a couple of months' time, I'm going to have you on another one, and we're going to continue on this journey together, my friend. Okay.
Yes. Thank you very much for having me.